Hi everyone, welcome to Navigating the Modern World with Coach Eli, the Walking with Purpose edition in glorious 4K at 60 frames per second. I finally got to doing a video in 4K at 60 frames per second again. I'll tell you folks, the day that I'm recording this video, something else happened. I was about to go live on YouTube and do a live stream for about 45 minutes. I typically will walk around the park 4 times because that's a little over 4 miles of distance. So I was going to do a live stream for the first 2 laps, but YouTube's been acting up all day. So I just said, okay, well, got to kill the stream. People are saying I'm buffering in and out, and it's not me. I know it's YouTube because the same thing happened at my place, and figured I'd just, record a video in 4K at 60 frames per second. There you have it. Yeah, I'm a little excited. I love technology, if you can't tell. And I'm a pretty cool, decent, down-to-earth dude, but I can be a little nerdy at times, and hey, nothing wrong with that, right? Like, you blend the jock and the nerd together and you create a cool dude, right? I'm really not full of myself. I just like to have a lot of fun, have a lot of self-confidence, and I just love life. And I love to crack jokes, especially at my own expense. Because if you can't crack jokes at your own expense, then you shouldn't be allowed to crack jokes towards anyone else. Anyway, all right, folks, I have a very interesting topic to discuss here today. Been thinking about this for quite some time, and I could probably do this topic a bit more justice by doing it in the studio and maybe showing some fancy graphics, but I said screw it. I'm just going to do it pre-recorded. I'm going to speak from the heart and do it more like podcast style, with the difference being, I'm taking a walk at the park and you can see me on video at the same time. And that's how a lot of my information is presented. I present a lot of my information podcast style, and I add the video element of it in case people want to watch it. But hey, let's say you're multitasking and you're doing something else. When you check out my videos out here on YouTube, you don't have to even watch them. You don't have to watch my beautiful face if you don't want to watch my beautiful face. You can just listen to the audio. And if you have YouTube Premium, you can even take a walk at the park or go take a walk wherever or get some exercise and put on some headphones, and that way you can save your battery. If you have YouTube Premium, YouTube allows you to use what's called background play. And you can just listen to the audio with your lock screen turned off on your phone. Anyway, I haven't done one of these videos in 4K at 60 frames per second since when I first got this iPhone 12 Pro Max. It's been almost a year now. It's been about 10 months. And there were some slight glitch issues with the video back in those days. I'm hoping through some updates on the app I use the Filmic Pro app to record these on my iPhone 12 Pro Max, the best app to use. And updates to the iPhone, I'm hoping that all that's been resolved. I guess we'll see what happens when I transfer it to my laptop and start editing this. But enough of that. Let's get to today's topic. Let's get right to it. We're going to be discussing digital versus reality and how this has affected the human touch. One more time. The topic of this video is digital versus reality. How this has affected the human touch. Well, if you haven't noticed, we're living in a world where practically every single thing either has already been automated or will be completely automated very soon. Everything's become automated. Even dating. People don't go on dates anymore. They have phone relationships and texting relationships and intimate relationships via a phone call or video call. And for some reason, that seems to satisfy many people. It's bizarre. It's bizarre what's happened in this crazy modern digital world we live in, because practically everything has become automated, right? And has it affected us? Has it affected our behavior? Has it affected the way we look at people when we have to go out in person? Because there are things we still have to leave our homes or apartments to go out and do, like go to the supermarket and get some perishable groceries. Now, there are some delivery services that do deliver perishable groceries, but they're not available in every area. Maybe one day they will be. They probably will be. Then at that point, we're never going to have to leave our homes. But I wanted to go down memory lane with you folks here, because I was born and raised and I grew up during a time about 15 years or so before this transition started to happen. You know, I was born in 1973. And back in those days, color TV was just born. Before those days, when my father and mother were born in the 50s and before that time, black and white TV had just come out, right? So we had black and white analog TV. Then we had color analog TV, right? And then I remember after color analog TV came out, that was a cool thing, right? Color TV, wow, that's cool, right? The next biggest deal was stereo TV, right? It used to be mono. Mono is one speaker, stereo is two speakers or more, right? I remember back in the days, I would watch like NBC, like Family Ties and those shows. And when stereo first came out, they wanted everyone to know that NBC is broadcasting this program in stereo were available. At the beginning of each show, like Family Ties, you would hear the Family Ties theme song, boom, 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 and then that NBC Peacock would start spreading its wings with a headset on it, and it would say, in stereo, we're available, at the bottom of your TV. Man, that was cool back then, huh? To these young kids that were born in the digital era, they're like, what the hell is he talking about, right? This all just didn't happen overnight. So we had, color TV and stereo now in the 80s, right? And computers were becoming more mainstream during that time. We made a transition from doing things non-digitally when it comes to whatever we use computers for nowadays. Primarily, computers were first used for word processing, right? Before the internet became mainstream, computers were used for word processing and stuff like that. how has that affected us? Let's talk about it, right? When I was growing up and going to school, we used to have to handwrite things, right? We learned cursive and penmanship, right? To these kids nowadays, for the most part, they have no clue what that is. I don't even think they teach that anymore in school, right? It used to be when you do your homework assignment, you get a sheet of binder paper. Do these kids nowadays even know what binder paper is? Filler paper, right? Notebook paper, whatever, right? Do they even know what a notebook is? When you say notebook, they think, oh, it's a laptop, right? No. It's a book that has blank sheets of paper in it with lines where you write things in with your hand, right? So how has that affected us nowadays? Has it made it easier? Yeah, but too easy, right? Because now you can use Microsoft Word or any other program that allows you to create documents, right? Now, what's the cool thing about it, right? The cool thing about it is if you're typing something out in Microsoft Word and you make a mistake, you can just backspace or delete and type it again, right? And if you did it the old school way, like I was born and raised with initially before all this high-tech stuff came out, the digital world changed this, right? If you made a mistake while you were writing on a piece of paper, right? The only way you could correct it is by using this thing called whiteout, liquid paper. Does anyone remember liquid paper? Whiteout. We used to call it whiteout, but it was liquid paper. Then they changed the name to whiteout because that's what people called it, right? Because we'd use permanent ink pens, right? And, you know, when you make a mistake, let's say you were, you know, halfway through one page of your essay and you made a spelling mistake, right? Or a grammar error, right? You'd have to get this whiteout liquid paper and spread it on the sheet of paper nice and smoothly, blow on it, make sure it's dried up, and then you would write on it. And if you didn't let it finish drying up, then it would create other aesthetic issues. The digital world has fixed that. Now, I think that's a good thing, right? Now, don't forget what came out after that. Paper-mate pens that were erasable. They created erasable ink. They're like, we've got an issue here in this modern world. You know? People that make mistakes are having to use a lot of whiteout, and their, you know, papers don't look nice with all that whiteout, right? So we're going to make erasable ink pens. Remember that? That was the coolest thing when it first came out, huh? Erasable ink pens. Now, where does this, you know, how does this affect us in a negative way? What does Microsoft Word also do that doing it the old school way doesn't? Microsoft Word can automatically check your spelling and grammar as you type and underline words that it picks up to be incorrect, right? And then if you hover over that underlined word and right click, you have options to correct your spelling and grammar, right? You have suggestions, right? Pretty cool, right? I still use Microsoft Word to this day, and I think it's a cool feature. But I also grew up during the time where I learned it the old school way. I learned proper grammar, proper grammar and spelling skills in grammar school, right? I learned this the manual way traditional sheets of filler paper or binder paper, writing things out by hand and not having autocorrect, right? So is having autocorrect and having a digital program like Microsoft Word great today? Yeah, I think it's great. The problem is we still need to teach our kids the manual way and then incorporate the digital way once they learn the manual way, because I'll tell you this, folks, even to this day, when I read something from a sheet of paper that's printed out or handwrite something over type it, I retain that information much better. I'm going to wait for, there's a person coming by here. I'm going to wait for them to pass on by. I want to show you folks here that have been following me for a while in 4K 60 frames per second. They're still working on the park here. They're still working on the park here and finishing the very nice and expensive playground. And there's a lot more construction happening here at Red Morton Park. Got one more person coming. I'm going to wait 1 second. A lot more construction happening here at the park. They're redoing practically the whole park. They're redoing the senior center and the swimming pool area. They're redoing everything. These buildings, the original buildings, have been here for a very long time, probably like 40 or 50 years or even longer. Wow. And they're finally getting to upgrading it. So yeah, that's one aspect that the digital world has changed. Partially for the better, but primarily what I feel it's done is made people extremely illiterate. Like I said, I retain information much better when I print something out on paper and read it from a piece of paper that's printed over looking at a computer screen. And I'm much more focused to the attention to detail when I handwrite something over typing it, right? If we continue, what other changes has, the digital world done? Digital versus reality, right? If you go back to the days of video cassette recorders, those of you that remember VCRs, right? Video cassette recorders. They would be used to record your TV program. It was cool when they first came out, like I think it was like the late 70s or early 80s, right? It was VHS and Betamax, or Beta, which was created by Sony. And although Beta had far better quality, VHS became the primary standard for the longest time. For, I'd say, probably a couple decades, it was VHS, right? You go rent movies, you rent them in VHS. You wanted to record a TV show, you buy a blank VHS tape, right? But what happened? What happened in, I'd say it was around the early 2000s or so. What happened around that time? Maybe a little into the 2000s, right? Actually, it was right around 2000, if I remember correctly. They converted the VCR to what's now known as a DVR, digital video recorder. How much better is it? Well, with VHS, you had a tape, right? What would happen when you played that tape too many times? Or what if there was a glitch with the motor in your video cassette recorder, VCR, and it ate up your tape? How many times did that happen to you folks? Same thing with audio cassettes. Remember, we had audio cassettes as well to play our music. What would happen at times when you were playing your audio cassette in the tape deck in your car? We used to call it the tape deck, right? Or the cassette player with your boom box, right? Or your home stereo system, right? Sometimes it would eat your tape, right? And the quality was okay, but the issue was these tapes would always screw up. Something would always go wrong. And that's where we transitioned tape to digital. And so with the VHS, VCRs, you had three options. You had EP, SP, and LP. I remember that. I believe EP was extended play, meaning that you could maximize the recording time of your VHS, cassette. I believe it was 6 to 8 hours, depending on the brand of your tape of the tape you purchased. So let's just say a 6-hour tape was the extended play EP. Then there was SP, standard play, which would give you the best quality recording, but only give you 2 hours of recording time. Then there was long play, which was 4 hours. A hybrid in the middle of quality, but still more length of record time than standard play, right? I remember I used to always record my favorite TV shows, and I would use extended play because when I was younger I had a paper route, and I would buy my video cassettes like in bulk, and I'd want them to last as long as possible, so I would record in extended play. The quality wasn't as great, but at least you're able to view it, right? But what happened? The DVR came out, and that changed everything. The DVR came out, and there was no more a need for tapes. It became digital. And the recording time was only limited to the amount of hard disk space you have on your DVR. And most DVRs have a USB port or some type of port where you can add an external hard drive if you need more space. So virtually you can record for as long as you want in high quality, and you don't have to worry about a tape being screwed up or anything like that. The only thing you have to worry about when it comes to the digital world is your hard drive crashing, right? And hard drives, the way they're made nowadays, they're solid state. They're not mechanical anymore. The failure rate of hard drives have gone way, way down. There's a whole point to this, folks. There's a point why I'm mentioning this, okay? But let's continue. Let's continue, right? Let's talk about the dating world. The dating world has gone completely digital, right? Before the digital world was created, here in Silicon Valley where I live, I believe that Steve Wozniak had a big part in creating binary code. What's created the digital world, folks, is simply a bunch of zeros and ones known as binary code. And all it stands for is this: 0 is off, 1 is on. So computers, they process things through a processor. And basically, the way that a computer has its instructions set to process things is with zeros and ones. On, off, on, off, on, off. Okay. That's how you're able to, program, software programs, etc., to function any way you want them to function with zeros and ones. Great invention, right? Great invention. So getting back to the dating thing, the dating world has now become completely digital to the point of where most people don't even meet in person anymore. And if they do meet in person, it's just not the same. It's completely different. And why is that? Why is that? Because people are spending a lot of time getting to know people digitally through messaging programs, on dating apps, they're texting through their smartphones. We have texting nowadays. That's digital, quick message communication, right? And there are so many unlimited options, not only in your area, but wherever you set your location to. You can meet people in your area, 10 miles away, 20 miles away, 100 miles away, or greater. It's all at your fingertips, right? So it's great to have all that access, right? On one hand, it's great to have all that access, right? But on the other hand, it's given us so many options to the point of where we always feel there's something better out there, even if we have something great already. For example, if I find a good woman, or a good woman finds a good guy, right? In the back of our minds, we're like, she's cool, I like her. She may be saying, he's cool, I like him. But let's just see what's out there, right? Let's just see what else is out there. You know what? It was never like that before the digital world. You find a good woman. In order to find a woman back in those days, or for a woman to find a guy, you had to go out in public and socialize and talk with people and then ask people for their number in person, right? The digital world has made it like a commodity. It's made it it's become in a way something unnatural. It's something that is taken for granted. I'm losing my verbiage trying to get the words out because I've experienced this, and just talking about this and sharing my thoughts with you folks and trying to open up your eyes on what's happening is making me lose my words, because this is not the way I was born and raised to be. The way the digital world has taken things is not the way that I was raised to be. Let me see here real quick. I don't know why there's a lot of, I wonder if there's a lot of noise on this recording here. I can't even tell. Well, we'll see how it turns out afterwards. I hope this is recording normally. I think it is. Let me come over here under the shade and check this out for a second. Huh. Testing. All right, it seems to be working. Okay, it's just picking up all the background noise. I have this program, Filmic Pro, which shows a meter of my audio on the right side. Anyway. So because binary code was created with zeros and ones, we can now pretty much make everything digital. Our phones have become digital. Our phones are not computers. I'm using my phone right now, which is called a smartphone in this modern world. It's an iPhone, right? Yeah, it's supposed to be used to make calls. That's why they call it the iPhone, right? It's called an iPhone. But how often do we use the phone to make a call, a voice call, over everything else it can do? People nowadays would rather video chat, they'd rather text, send an email, right? But it's still known as a phone. I wonder if at some point down the road that the word phone is not going to exist. Maybe they'll change it to something like communication device. Or whatever. I mean, it is a communication device, but you get what I'm saying, right? Okay. Now, I shared these examples not to bore you, because I know if you're around my age, I'm in my late 40s, and you grew up around my time, if you're 40 years of age or older, then everything I mentioned here, you grew up with that. If you're younger than 40, you may have experienced some of what I mentioned, but probably not a whole lot. And if you're under 30, definitely you have no clue what I'm talking about. This is all new to you, right? I mean, I'm catering this to a widespread audience regardless of age, but this video here will more so help our youth better understand how things used to be. And, you know, if you're struggling in this modern world in any way, especially communication, talking with women talking with men, if you're struggling in any aspects, more than likely it's because you've been taught in a digital world and you never learned to do things manually like us folks 40 plus did, right? So like I said earlier, look, you know, having digital products nowadays, do I love them? Sure, I love them. Like I said earlier, I love Microsoft Word. I love using all these programs. It does make it easier, right? But I appreciate these products more because I already learned how to do it the manual way. The reason why I like using digital products is because it saves trees. And if you make mistakes, you don't have to rewrite the whole thing, right? Or use whiteout like I mentioned earlier. Those are great aspects of the digital world changing things. The bad aspects of the digital world changing things is that people are not learning information as easily. They're not retaining information because they don't handwrite things anymore. They don't do things manually anymore. This world's become very lazy. You know, a lot of people have said the millennials started the lazy generation. Well, that is true to a certain extent. I'm not trying to criticize them. What made this generation lazy and started making everyone lazy is everything going digital. Everything becoming automated. Oh, another thing. Let me mention this. It used to be back in the days, and this is basically before, well, right when I was born. I think the first ATM came out. Most of these young kids don't even know what ATM stands for. It stands for automated teller machine. They'll just say, let's go to the ATM and get some fast cash, right? The fast cash option is typically $40, right? But the purpose is you can easily get cash 24 hours a day, 7 days a week without having to go into your bank, or if it's during normal banking hours, you don't have to stand in line for half an hour. So I remember those days going to the bank with my mom and dad, being a little kid, right? And when ATMs started becoming more mainstream, and I started working when I was in high school at the movie theater, I got an ATM card. And my mom was telling me, don't get an ATM card. Those things are dangerous, this and that. I'm like, I'm going to get an ATM card. It's convenient, right? And you know what? I'll tell you what. It gets even worse than that. When I worked at the movie theater and started driving when I turned 16, right? I was with Bank of America back then. I've been with the credit union probably for the last 20 years or so, but before I switched to the credit union, I used to be with Bank of America, and then their fees started, getting incredibly high, so I was able to get into a credit union because then I started working for Costco, and there was an agreement with the credit union I belong with. If you're a Costco employee or Costco member, you can become a member. You have to qualify to get into most credit unions, if not all of them. But here's another thing. You can call this convenience or laziness. The ATM came out where you would just, park your car and walk out to the ATM, get your money and go back to your car. Well, some banks said, well, that's not convenient enough for our customers, so we're going to do something that we used to do with tellers. Back in the days, they had drive-up tellers, right? You could drive up with your car to a teller, right? When the ATM came out, all those drive-up tellers, or that drive-up teller area, turned into drive-up ATMs. And there was a drive-up ATM right across the street at the Bank of America in San Mateo, California, when I worked at the Hillsdale Cinema when I was younger. Let me tell you how convenient it was. I would get like a half an hour lunch, right? And it was back in those days where debit was not really out yet. Your ATM card used to be just an ATM card where you had to go to the ATM to get cash, and then go to Burger King or McDonald's or wherever you were going to eat for lunch, which is what I'm trying to say. You have to go and pay cash, right? So I drive across the street. I'd drive up to the drive-up ATM. I wouldn't have to even get out of my car, pull out $20, and then go right across the street from the ATM to the Burger King and go through the drive-thru at Burger King. And within 10 minutes, I've got my money, I've got my food, and I'm back at the movie theater in the break room eating my food. That's what the digital world has done. It's made us lazy. It's made us take things for granted. I will tell you, folks, back in those days, my younger days, I was pretty damn lazy. I'm not going to lie. I became pretty lazy once all this digital stuff started coming out. I was becoming a victim of this, like I preach our youth have become nowadays, because they were born into all of this. The topic, folks, again, is digital versus reality. I love technology. Don't get me wrong. I love technology. I know most people do too. And I'm going to start wrapping this up in the next 10 minutes. So I'm going to start sharing my final thoughts here. Let me just come over here real quick. We are at 40 minutes. This is going to be like a 50-minute 4K 60 frame per second video. It's going to take a while to process even with my new i9 laptop. But the quality will be phenomenal, right? It's worth it, right? Here's the thing, folks. Let me tell you what's been really bothering me lately. The fact that we've gone so digital to the point of where people have no attention span to carry conversations anymore. You go on these dating sites, these dating apps, and you're lucky if most women that respond to you write more than 2 words, whether they're interested or not, right? Well, they're getting a lot of attention from the thirsty beta males, like I always mention, but there are too many options. I value communication. I love having deep conversations with people in general, but especially with a woman I want to end up being with. I want to be able to have a deep conversation with her and connect with her at that level. And it seems like nowadays, women don't have the attention span for that. Or if you're a guy that comes off that way because you are that way, you're a deep thinker and a real person, they think you're a phony trying to manipulate them because most other guys aren't like that. All right. Give me a second here. I will show you folks. Actually, if I come back over here, I want to show you this magical bridge playground in 4K at 60 frames per second. Because typically I show folks this on my live streams, and that's 720p 30, and it's, while you're live, so the quality's not that great. But I want to show you this here as I walk up. Let me just show you. This will do this justice. You'll be able to see this. Right? So this is what it looks like. This is what it looks like. Just come up here. And if I just come in here, you see that's... I haven't been this close, but it's in the clear right now. This is absolutely phenomenal. What's that, hand sanitizer? Wow. Wow, that's awesome. All right. Give me a second, someone's coming. So yeah, there's a better shot right there. Check out the sun. Auto exposure should kick in automatically. A hometown park, folks. They're upgrading it. I can't wait to see when it's all done with all the new buildings and the last part of the Magical Brigade playground is all completed. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Do. All right. I hope there isn't a whole lot of noise on this video. I'm seeing my meter when I'm not talking going pretty high. I hope that's just the ambient background noise that it's picking up. But hey, I will check out the recorded copy when I get to my car. Folks, here's the thing. The digital world has made things convenient. And don't get me wrong, I do like a lot of those conveniences. But I think what we need to do a better job at is incorporating those conveniences in the real world better. And not letting the digital world consume us when we're hanging around other people that we use these digital devices to arrange a time and place to meet with these people, right? It's one thing to use these devices or the digital world to meet someone through a dating app or dating site, to schedule an appointment, at the doctor's office, or to, set up a time to hang out with your buddies and create a poker night, right? But once you get to the event that you use your digital device, to make happen, the last thing you want to do is go to that event and be on your digital device all night long. What I'm trying to say, folks, is we need to do a better job of turning these things on and off. I'm not saying turn them off. It's these devices nowadays, especially our phones, they're with us wherever we're at, and it's a way for people to contact us nowadays in case of emergency, right? So you don't want to turn it off, right? But my advice, and I've said this before in the past, I'll say it again, my advice is to put your phone face down. Like if I'm on a date, if I'm on a date with a woman and we go to dinner, right? Or if I'm dating someone, we go to dinner. I have my phone out of my pocket. I put it face down. Why do I do that? Because I don't want it distracting me, right? And I have it on vibrate or silent, right? Typically vibrate. So that way it's not ringing and annoying. And every so often, in case of emergency, every 10, 15, 20 minutes, I'll glance at it and get right back into my conversation. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're going to go hang out with people that you use the device to meet up with, and once you get there, instead of hanging out with these people and having a real in-person conversation with them, if all of you are on your devices and not talking, then what's the point of hanging out in the first place, right? We need to get better at interacting in the real world again and not let the digital world consume us and suck us in and make us digital characters, because we're not. Human beings are not digital characters. If anything, we're more analog than digital. Now, we're obviously not technology, we're real human beings, but if I had to pick analog or digital, what better represents human life? It's analog, right? We're more analog than digital. But technically we're none of the above. It's absolutely beautiful. I want to show you folks a little bit more here before I wrap up this video, and hopefully the audio came out okay. I didn't really test this before I started recording. If it doesn't work, hey, I'll re-record it tomorrow. Oh well, right? So yeah, they're starting to build here. Down over there, you probably can't see from here, the swimming pool area, they have it fenced off, and they're building This whole building here, the Veterans Memorial Building at 1455 Madison Avenue, this is like the senior center. Look at how old this building is. In 4K 60, you'll see this clearer than ever. They're rebuilding this whole thing. Look. And it's about time. It was getting really, really old. And it never had to do with money. There's plenty of money in this city. This is the Bay Area, for Christ's sake. But I'm glad they're finally doing it. I mean, this is look at how old this is. Now, don't get me wrong. It's rustic. It's old. It's what I grew up with. This was all like more new when I was, growing up here, right? Just take a look. You're never going to see old school brick like this. Maybe in some places, but you'll never see it around this area ever again. It's all going to become modern. It's going to be state of the art. Kiss the chef. This is like an old school electrical panel, and AC panel still works. Look at how old school that is. Look at these blinds. They're the original blinds. They're all torn. Look at that. Wow. I'm so happy to be taking video of this before they tear it all down. And I'll do some updated videos when the new buildings are finished, or maybe even along the way. I'm surprised this roof hasn't fallen apart. Look at how horrible the condition of this roof is. All right, folks. 52 minutes. I need to wrap this up. This is going to take a while to process. I'm hoping to have this out by Wednesday evening at the latest. It takes, for like a 50-something minute video in 4K at 60 frames per second, it takes YouTube literally like 12 hours at least to process it. So on top of the rendering time, and the upload will be quick because I have fiber. That'll upload fast, but the rendering time and the processing time on YouTube for 4K, especially 4K at 60, is going to be a while, but it'll be well worth it, folks. Folks, let me know what you thought about this video. Please, like, share, subscribe. Share your thoughts, folks. I just wanted to take a walk down memory lane, in the way things used to be in the analog world versus the digital world, and talk about digital versus reality and how has it affected us. All right, folks. Have yourselves a good one. We'll see you all next time. Take care. Bye. We're out. Peace out.